Welcome to Soaring the Sky, a glider pilot's podcast. My name is Chuck. I'm your host. Today we bring you a special episode recorded live on location at Airventure Oshkosh 2019 during the 50th anniversary celebration. We joined 14-year-old Riley Speidel along with her father under the wing of her aircraft. Riley has just completed a flight across the United States from California to Maine. Soaring gave her the unique opportunity to do a flight like this 2 years before most young aviators would otherwise be able to. Riley, welcome to Soaring the Sky. How are you today?
Good.
We're here at Airventure. Glad I was able to speak to you. Where did this big adventure begin? How did it start?
Well, so my family is really into general aviation. So my dad's a pilot, my grandpa's a pilot, my grandma's a pilot, my aunt are all pilots. So we've always been doing like things in general aviation. And then when I was 11, I learned that you could solo a glider 2 years younger than you could solo a plane. So so for my 12th birthday, I wanted glider lessons. So then once we started that and we did a couple flights, Dad went ahead and got his entire license and up to his CFIG. And then so then he could start teaching me. So then after that, we started looking into different types of motor gliders that we wanted to get, and we found like this touring class of motor gliders. So then we started thinking that I could solo that since it's still a motor glider, or it's still a glider, and then even though I had an engine, it's still classified under a glider. And we're like, wait, couldn't we do like some cross country together, and I'd be in one plane, Dad could follow in another, and then like couldn't I fly across the country solo and back to Maine where we used to live? So it's kind of how this idea kind of came up.
So that's how the Maine and California.
Yeah. So we
That's where the idea came from.
Yeah.
Oh, so you connected where you were and then where you are now. That's
Exactly.
wild. So how did it begin? Like, obviously you had to look at the weather conditions going across, and what was it like the first leg, and how did it go?
It was good. So so probably the most, like the first leg wasn't, it's just like doing like kind of a normal cross country, but instead of coming back home, we just kept going. So of course, like we had been planning for like 18 months, so it's kind of, well, we were finally doing it after we've been planning it, and then I had my solo the week before.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah.
Yep. So she soloed on her 14th birthday, and then we left on the trip 7 days later.
Wow.
So we kind of had the route mapped out a couple months prior, and during her spring break in April, Riley and I flew the first 4 days of her trip, and that was the days through the most mountainous terrain.
Okay. Yeah.
And just to get her lots of practice on that, and that was probably the days that she really need to nail, because there's a lot going on flying through the mountainous areas. And then as far as the day-to-day pre-flight planning, since she's a student, as her CFIG, I had to sign her off every day just as a cross-country. So we would do the normal FAA required checks and steps. So we'd check look at the departure airport, arrival airport. We'd have several contingency airports along the way, weather, NOTAMs, and all of that.
Right, exactly.
And so probably about an hour and a half of pre-flight planning would go into each leg. And so she had plenty of options in case she started getting tired or weather was not as forecast, which did happen a couple times. So we're glad we put that, we had that plan in place.
Yeah.
So how long was the day of flying? I'm sure some days maybe were shorter than others, but how did that work out?
So the first day we added a stop than we originally planned because we had been having really bad coastal fog in our area.
Okay.
So normally it burns off pretty quick, but it just hadn't been lately. So actually I had to do my solo in an airport like slightly inland than where we're based. So we decided that we'd add a stop that was about an hour. So I left noon right after school on Friday, and so the day earlier than we were also planning on leaving to keep like where we were going to be kind of the same a little bit. And then we left there, we did the hour flight, and then the rest of the flight for about 3 hours.
Wow.
And we just flew one flight a day right in the morning.
Okay.
About 350 nautical miles a day.
Okay, yeah, that was my next question. How far?
Yeah.
The average length? Yeah.
Except the last day, we checked the weather, and we had 45 knot tailwinds.
Oh.
So we went, how far did we go? It's like 690 nautical miles the last day.
Yeah.
Wow, nice.
And then weather was gonna start moving into Maine, so we didn't want to have to worry about that too. So, and then we ended up only flying about 5 hours that day as a fuel stop, so it wasn't bad.
Yeah, still pretty easy day, and we had lots of time available to do this trip, so we didn't have to worry about being pressured by weather or other time constraints. But amazingly, it only took 9 days. So.
Wow.
Yeah, so we just made sure not to schedule anything like super rigid, and we had tons of plans, and like I did talk at 2 explorer groups along the way, because the goal was to promote aviation in addition to just doing this flight. So then we like told them like we might be a day late, we might be a day early, we might be a couple days late. So just like be loose, and they understood kind of our situation. So we actually had to end up moving one of the my first talk a day earlier, because we're in a good high pressure bubble along the entire country, so we wanted to stay in it, because like the day behind us was pretty stormy, the day in front of us pretty stormy, so we wanted to stay right in that perfect bubble.
Wow.
Considering the weather that we've had this summer across the country, I mean, it was amazing how good the weather was for this trip.
Yeah. We
just were in this great high pressure system, and we had built in a couple rest days, but Riley was doing great, and so we just kept trucking along. And it was really good. Everywhere we stopped, people would tell us how bad the weather had been the previous 2 weeks, and so yeah, it was really good.
Right in that window.
Exactly.
Can you tell me a little bit about the aircraft that we're actually setting under the wing here today? Tell me a little bit about the aircraft and the specs.
Yeah, so it's the Pipistrel Sinus, and it's classified as a self-launch glider, and it has a 50-foot wingspan, or 15 meters.
Okay.
And then its glide ratio is about 27-1 for the nose wheel configuration, which is what we have, and then they have a tail wheel that's 30-1. So it's above average. So it's pretty good for being the class of motor glider. Because it's a touring motor glider, which means that it has about 7.5 hours of fuel. So unlike other like tow plane replacement motor gliders, you can fly it like a normal plane, or you can fly it as a glider.
So along the trip, did you do both, or how did that work out?
Primarily just because of the distances we had to cover, she left the engine running.
Right. Okay.
Best glide is 51, but it'll cruise about 110.
Okay.
So just because we had to, make a lot of progress.
Yeah, correct.
We have done some soaring in it. That's what she wants to do next, is do a lot more soaring in it. But just basically, that's the benefit of a touring type motor glider.
Yeah,
is that you can go to point A to point B relatively quick and get to some good soaring conditions and play around there for a while. So we're planning to do that. We're flying home together.
Nice.
We're planning to do a lot more of that through the Rockies and Colorado, Utah. So.
Now, what were you following her in?
I was following her in a Beechcraft Baron, a 1968 Baron.
Oh, very nice.
So I had about a 40 knot overtake on her.
Okay.
At 110 knots.
And I basically did a racetrack pattern behind her. Every 8 to 10 minutes, I would kind of just circle back.
Okay.
We also had a family friend. He flew the lead airplane as a Piper Tomahawk.
Okay.
And he would leave about 30 minutes prior, and we just kind of chatted on the air-to-air frequency. He could report ahead to make sure the weather was as forecast. Turbulence. He's also on the ground too when she landed. So it was really fun having all three and chatting with my 14-year-old daughter while she was in the air in her own little ship and seeing her go by.
What a very unique, awesome experience.
Yes.
Yeah, it was really fun.
And I know the aviation community, as we know, are very welcoming. It's a big family. How was it going across the country? I mean, when you landed and you spoke to different people?
Well, like, everyone, like, super excited, and they're, like, kind of like, wait, like, kind of did, like, a second, like, kind of, like, just, like, wait, and, like, took a double take about it, because they've, like, hardly anyone we met were, like, glider people, so, like, you can't fill a 14, because, like,
right.
I mean, this thing kind of is, like, the body of a airplane, but with the long wings.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of like a weird-looking airplane, is that people that aren't accustomed to glider kind of thing. So like, how can you fill that 14?
Yeah, she got a lot of questions at FBOs and everything when she'd get out, and they'd be marshaling her in, and they'd look twice, but everyone has been really supportive and excited about it, and And here at Oshkosh this week, we've had a lot of young kids Riley's age, come by, and they're really stoked to see that one of their peers can do this, and I think it'll really help get some kids, give them that push to get started and find their local, soaring clubs, and there's SSA has a ton of great scholarships out for kids, and so there's good cost-effective ways to get into aviation at a young age.
And so much more fun than video games. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
It's not like the virtual world; it's the real world.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It's great to see young people like you and other young people getting excited again about aviation.
Yeah,
It is exciting. I mean, Oshkosh is the deal, and there's so much going on here. But it just shows you how many things are going on in aviation.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It is.
So I will ask you, if you had a tough day out of all those days that you flew across, what was maybe one of the toughest days, and can you tell me why it was tough?
So, we're leaving on our 4th day, right?
Yep.
Of the trip, and it had been going like really smoothly. We hadn't had any turbulence and stuff, but then we saw there was really high wind at our destination. So we're like, hey, we'll just wait them out, because it was forecasted to go down. So, but of course, with that, the thermal started coming, and then all the turbulence. So it was super bumpy because it's wing loading very light, especially with just me in there. So and then you have to slow way down for turbulence. So it's really hard to fly in turbulence. It's very tiring. So yeah, so we flew about 2 hours in turbulence, and then I was kind of just thinking, I can't do this for the next 2 hours of our flight because we had to be going so slow. And so then we landed at one of our alternates that we had planned, kind of waited it out, and then let the winds die down even more, and most of the turbulence went away. So then, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was between Santa Fe, New Mexico, and Liberal, Kansas. So we stopped into Dalhart, Texas, had a great little cafe there, and Riley had to do a go-around because there's a 180-degree wind shift on base to final.
Wow.
And so she jumped back in the pattern and did a great job. And I mean, it was like that day, and in particular, I mean, I was just really impressed on how cool and calm and all this training paid off. I mean, since January, she's put 150 hours in this machine alone.
Wow. That's a lot of flying.
Yep, and in Maine, she did a lot of extra solo just for fun. I guess she wasn't tired of flying. And she broke over 500 landings in Maine, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah. It's been fun. We had an excuse to fly 4 or 5 times a week, so he picked me up after school, and we could just go fly for an hour, hour and a half. So yeah, it was fun being able to spend so much time with them.
Wow. Yeah, what an amazing journey. Sure.
Yeah.
If I could ask you, I usually ask my guests, I know you've been doing this for a little while and you're young, but you've done a lot of flying and a lot of takeoffs and landings. What would you tell somebody that was maybe just starting out in flying? How could they be a better pilot, but also a safer pilot? What would you tell them?
Well, I think as soon as you start feeling uncomfortable with the situation, kind of find just kind of figure out what's making you uncomfortable about it. What is the thing that you can do to change that? So, if you're landing and the plane's not feeling right, or the glider's not feeling right, then just kind of what's making it not feel right? Are you accidentally landing downwind? Do you have the flaps setting off, or you have the air brakes are doing something funky? So kind of find with that, and then try to help, be observant of what your plane's doing, basically.
Good advice, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you for joining us today. It's very exciting to be here, and it's exciting to meet you. And I got to be honest, I just heard about your story here last week.
Oh.
And I was like, wow, I didn't know this was going on.
Yeah, we tried to keep it pretty under wraps just in case, she wanted to bail out.
Right.
Either at the start of the trip or during the trip.
Right,
so no pressure, just a fun, cool trip. And I just kept it low key. And then now that we're here, try to, get some promotion to get some other youth involved.
So after being here a while, I know you've been here under the wing, but have you gotten out much to walk around and check things out?
Yeah, we usually just probably spend like 2-3 hours here at the glider, which is parked outside the SSA booth. And then, then we've been walking around, seeing all the cool things, looking at all the vendors. So yeah, it's been fun.
What's your favorite part about Oshkosh?
I think my favorite part is the STOL competition.
Nice. Yeah, I like that one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
She got to fly in a Super STOL XL yesterday morning. So
Yeah,
she did
fun.
demo in that.
Oh,
out there.
nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yep, there was a gal that works for Just Aircraft. Came up and met her. And so it's been fun.
That's
really
the
fun.
Been
cool
fun
thing.
meeting a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a cool thing about Oshkosh. You never know who you're going to meet.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being on the podcast. I greatly appreciate your time. I am amazed at your journey, and wow, what an inspiration to me and everybody else. So keep up the good work, keep flying, keep having fun, all right?
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us here today on Soaring the Sky. Always great to have another great guest. And thank you to the SSA for hosting us at Airventure 2019, the 50th anniversary. What an awesome experience. And it was nice to meet some of you. We hope to be there again next year. If you want to keep track of what we're doing, check out Instagram as well as Facebook for a little sneak peek on your upcoming guest. Instagram and Facebook, it is Soaring the Sky Podcast. Soaring the Sky Podcast, that's on both Facebook and Instagram. You can check us out there. You can also check us out at soaringthesky.com, where you can check out our past guests. Also, the SSA, they do have a great place you can go to find out everything you need to find out about soaring. Catch a glider ride, your first glider flight, ssa.org. You can find that there. If you're a pilot and you'd like to share your story right here on Soaring the Sky, you can do that by contacting me at chuck@soaringthesky.com. Maybe you're a listener and you just want to say hi. Feel free to do that same place, chuck@soaringthesky.com. Until next time, we will see you back here for another great guest on Soaring the Sky.